Welcome everybody to Three Wide in the Middle, your home for all things racing with me, Thomas Brandon, and my man Keith Bradley. Keith, how's it going?
What's going on?
Oh, not much. Busy week, as we were just talking about. We had in the sim world, the new dirt track refresh launched, and I've been up to my eyeballs in dirt sim racing all week long, along with, of course, a ton of hours in the glass business. So no rest for the wicked
As
out
usual.
here. Yeah, pretty much same old, same old. So yeah, but got a bunch of racing stuff to cover. Indiana Midget Week is underway, which is awesome. I really don't think there's a whole lot. There's just not anything. There's not a lot of stuff that's better than Midget Week. Yeah, it's awesome. I love it. I
I
love it.
would
So
I would put Midget Week and Indiana Sprint Week up against
yes,
the
yeah.
uh the May racing as far as the Coke 600, the Indy 500
Mm-hmm.
and that stuff. I would put
Yeah.
it up against that.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, obviously, when you have something like, which is also just started last night, the late model Dream, that's huge. Four Crown, Kings Royal, Knoxville Nationals, like those are all huge. But I mean, there's just something about when you've got Midget Week and Sprint Week where it's every night. You know what I mean? And it's a different track, and it's this little mini series, points within the entire season long. So it's really cool, man. I've always wanted to go back and like follow it for, just literally be on the road and go into every single racetrack. That's always been on my bucket list of things to do. I wanted to do it as a mechanic and crew chief, but I obviously never made it back there. But yeah, maybe one day, when I'm rich, I'll have a car and then I'll find a driver and we can go hit the road. So yeah,
Yeah, that's part of my bucket list too.
yeah,
Like if I was to ever really hit the lottery to go buy an RV and just
yes,
go, because I
yep,
think it's like seven different nights of racing on both
yeah,
and sprint cars and
mm-hmm,
just go to each place.
yeah.
That's
It's
my
like
bucket.
seven. It's like seven races over 8 nights or something. Like they've got like they race like two or three, and then it's one night off, and then it's just like 5 straight days. It's awesome. So got to cover that. Like we said, late model Dream also going on. NASCAR was at Gateway. Got some stuff to cover there as well. And then we've got our NASCAR pick'em, and we've got a really cool Ask Three Wide question sent in by Todd. And it's gonna spark an interesting conversation because I gotta admit, I hadn't thought of this. I'd never thought about making this kind of comparison or having this kind of debate over a couple of drivers. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting, especially when we dive into it, Keith, because it's somebody you hold near and dear to the heart. So we'll get into that in a little bit. But first, we got to cover Gateway this last week. Keith, did you get to actually see the race?
I did, and it was pretty good. It was okay. A little too much shifting for me,
Yes,
but
me too. We'll dive into that here in just a minute with the hit or miss. But yeah, it was okay. I give Gateway a lot of credit. They've had this race now for a couple years. This is what, second or third year that they've done it. It sold out again. It's obviously a very unique track. I do It's hard to say, I heard from drivers where they were like, look, it would be cool if we ran the short track package here, but then I've also heard from cup drivers that have said, no, we need the intermediate package because we need to be able to suck up on the car. So I would like to see obviously NASCAR, you would have to test this, but I would love to see what it would be like one versus the other. I do think that there is still some tire issues that we NASCAR needs to look at taking care of, which we'll dive into those questions here in just a few minutes with the hit or miss because yeah, it's it's just it's just different. It's very very different. But before we get into the NASCAR stuff and the hit or miss, I gotta cover the race that we had this last weekend in the F1 world with Formula One. I should that was kind of redundant in the F1 world with Formula One. Yeah, F1 stands for Formula One. The race, the Spanish Grand Prix at the Circuit de Barcelona. I think it's pronounced Catalina or Luna or something. I don't know. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. Um, and of course, Verstappen gets the win, which is not a shock. He won by 24 seconds. That's literally like the average margin of victory for the Red Bull cars this year so far. When they win by at least 20 seconds or something. It's insane. What was interesting was Mercedes grabbing the second and third spot, and they had an update to the car, and we've seen a big improvement. Now, the thing that I want to cover today is there was a lot of news that had come out after Monaco when you had these cars crashing and then they were being hoisted up by a crane and you could see the underbody of these cars. And when the Red Bull car was in the air, and when you looked at their floor compared to the other floors, it was like comparing a stealth bomber to a crop duster. Okay, that's the difference that we were seeing. It was massive. There's a guy on Twitter, I cannot remember his name. If you just do a Google search, it'll come up. But he actually does like an in-depth breakdown of these floors, and it's really, really good. Because the Red Bull floor is just different, and we've talked about it with the NASCAR Cup Series cars, where these floors, these diffusers, these underwings, they're all those terms are used interchangeably with them. How big of a deal the downforce of these cars are when you're talking about the underbody downforce. When these cars are generating as much downforce as they are underneath the car, it's a big deal. And in Formula One, downforce is everything. We think downforce is important with the Cup car. It's nothing compared to Formula One. Everything they do, it is to package that car, improve the downforce, improve the aero grip. That everything is about downforce. And we saw Mercedes have a big boost in their performance after this update. Now, a lot of people are tying that directly to them, everybody seeing Red Bull's floor. Keep in mind, these updates are in development for weeks, months. Okay, it's not like Mercedes saw the underneath of Red Bull's car and they're like, hey, that's what we're going to do. And then they just changed everything, right? They put sim time in, wind tunnel time. They're doing CFD. There's a lot of work and development that goes into this. So a lot of people are saying, oh, Mercedes is now running what Red Bull's running and they're going to catch them. I don't think that's the case. I think they had been working on this for a while. Total Wolf had come out and said that they had an update plan and that they'd been working on it, and it wasn't going to fix everything, but it's made them more competitive. And I think what we're seeing right now is we're seeing what we saw a couple years ago. Red Bull is head and shoulders better than everybody else, and everybody else, led by Mercedes, is trying to catch them. It used to be Mercedes was head and shoulders better than everybody else, and Red Bull was leading that charge trying to catch them. And now those roles are reversed. And it's going to be interesting to see if Mercedes can actually catch them by the end of the year. I don't know if they'll be able to catch. And when I say catch them, keep in mind, I mean win races. The championship is Red Bull's to lose. They're going to need massive mechanical failures for anybody to come close to them. They're dominating at such a high level right now. It's not even funny. But I do think we can see Mercedes start to really challenge for wins and, consistent podiums. Verstappen has got a massive lead in the championship. He's winning by like 53 points, which in Red Bull or in F1 racing, that's a lot. And then the constructors is just it's ridiculous. Red Bull's dominating. They've got like 130 something point lead over Mercedes. It's like not even close. So we'll see if Mercedes can bring the fight to Red Bull here, over these summer months and into the home stretch of the season. But it was nice to see them, fighting for the podium, scoring second and third, and actually showing a challenge to at least one of the Red Bull drivers, Checo, Verstappen. He's on another level. So, yep, Keith, I know you don't watch the F1 stuff too much, so we can take a
Yeah.
quick break and then move on to your favorite part of the show, hit or miss.
Perfect.
All right. Today's episode is brought to you by Produxa. Look, you guys, when it comes to protecting and adding a mirror-like shine to your surfaces, you pretty much have two options. You can go with one of those low, quality products out there, do the old school, like my parents used to do, use the old dish soap to wash your car, or you can go with Produxa. You guys, I've personally used this stuff and it works incredible, man. Whether it's their ceramic coating, their wash, their tire shine, and it not only looks great, but it's super easy to use. I mean, my 10-year-old son was helping me use this stuff, and we used it on my daughter's car, and the car literally looked new. And my daughter's 17, so you can imagine that the car did not look new before we washed it. So if you want to actually give your car a mirror-like shine while in the process protecting it, head over to Produxa.com or the link down in the description below and check out their full line of products today. I can promise you, you will love them. All right, so it is now time for our hit or miss portion of the show. We've got I think we've only got like 4 things to cover. We've got a lot of stuff to cover on the dirt side of things today. So, but 4 things to cover. And we are going to start off with Corey Lajoie. So, Keith, Corey Lajoie's run after finishing 21st was not a disappointment at Gateway. Hit or miss the mark?
I'm gonna say it hits the mark. I mean, it was, but it wasn't at the same time. Because let's be honest, last year Chase Elliott struggled at this racetrack too.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it wasn't really a surprise that they would. I pictured him running better, but on the other hand, let's be honest, it's a new car to him.
Yes.
It's a new setup. It's new terminology. It's a new team. It's a new crew chief, engineer. It's all different. It's all
Mm-hmm.
out of his element. And what helped me feel a little bit better about it was listening to Corey talk about his experience, just how the inside of the car was different than his.
Yes.
The kill switch is in a different location in his car than it is in Chase's car.
Yep.
Hence the reason why he lost a billion positions Sunday at the start is his hand hit the kill switch. So
Yep.
now Hendrick is moving all their kill switches out of arm's reach when you're driving, which is great, which is good. But flip side, I'm looking at the bigger picture for Corey. He got better sim time. He got more sim time. He learned
Yes.
a bunch of things that he could take to Spire for his 7 team, things that Hendrick takes serious and let's say others don't. So I think all in all, I think Corey will benefit from it. I think it'll make Corey and the 7 team better. And
I agree. I'm with you.
and people's got to look past the whole, well, Carson Hocevar was out running him in his own car and da 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 da.
Yeah, that's so
But
stupid.
and let's be real here. Corey doesn't have a bunch of laps at Gateway. He blew up there last year on lap 32. So
Yeah. Yeah, he had said that if there was one track that he did not want this to take place at, this was the track. Like, I mean, he got an awesome opportunity, getting to work with the 9 team this week. You guys, I've talked about it before. Normally, I don't listen to any of the racing pods until after we record ours. I did listen to Stack and Pennies just because I wanted to make sure that I knew everything, all the circumstances with Lajoie's run before I commented on it. And, he talked about it, where he's like, look, that team, when you go in there, it's palpable. I think the term he used, where he's like, everybody there, it does not matter who it is, they have one goal in mind, and it is to make race cars go as fast as possible around the track. Like that's what they do. And he talked about, the differences between Hendrick and Spire, and, the stuff that he learned and could take back. And, it was interesting because, and it just shows how important something like qualifying and track position is, how hard it is to drive these cars. Keep in mind, Corey Lajoie finished 21st. Ross Chastain finished 22nd. Okay, Ross Chastain was leading the points, coming into the weekend. So, and obviously we would not consider Chastain a scrub. You know what I mean? And it's not like Hendrick has been dominant at Gateway. I mean, even the 9 car, they did not have the best run there last week. And the 9 car has actually not been running as well over these last few weeks. They've really, it shows the importance of consistency between the driver, the engineers, and the crew chief, right? You've really got to have that, because if you look at the 9 car, what have they had this year? Chase was out for, all those weeks where Josh Berry was in the car when he broke his leg. Then he comes back. They're trying to get back on the same page, and then he gets suspended for a race. So I think it shows a lot more about just how hard this is than it is, to crap on Corey Lajoie. And those of you out there who are out there saying, well, Hocevar, was outrunning Lajoie, and so he's better. You're an idiot. Shut up. Okay. Because if you want to go out there and just burn everything up for 30, 40 laps, like, okay, fine. Hocevar was fast. He was doing good. He didn't finish, right? Like, he didn't finish. So, like, let's look at the totality of the event, not just a 30-lap run. Anybody can go out there and be fast for 30 laps. Okay. So
100%.
yeah. So, like, let's calm down. Let's pump the brakes on that.
And
Yes, what I'd like to have seen him get a better finish, of course, he would have liked to have seen that too. But when you look at what happened, right, his qualifying run, one little mistake with the shifting, he lost all of his momentum going into turn 1 there on that first lap. That cost you a couple tenths, and right there, now you're back in the mid to low 20s as opposed to the teens, which would have been a big difference for your starting position.
and to be honest, I think the person that should be worried would be Ty Dillon. That's who should be worried.
Yeah.
He got outran by the 7 car as usual, but with
Mm-hmm.
a different driver. So if I'm Ty Dillon, I'm like, okay, he could replace me. He's not going to replace Corey Lajoie. Corey Lajoie isn't going anywhere next year unless if something big happens and he lands a big deal with a big
Yeah.
team, which at this stage, I would say it's highly unlikely. I mean, I'm not going to throw it out the window completely and say that, oh, it ain't going to happen, because he could quite end up in the 10 car if everything works out.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm Ty Dillon, I'm checking myself. I just got outran by Carson Hocevar, has one race in
Yep.
this car, and it was at Gateway, and he was running top 20, 16th before
Mm-hmm.
he crashed. So,
Yeah. Yep. I'm with you. So, yeah, would have liked to seen LaJoy have a better run, but when you look at everything that happened, 21st, obviously not the best, but I think I'm
but
with
he
you. I think it was a
completed
good.
every lap,
He completed every
and
lap. I think it was
he
a good
finished.
experience for him. Yeah. So yeah. But moving on to someone who did have an awesome race, which was the winner, Kyle Busch. Keith, hit or miss, Busch winning this race means trouble for the rest of the field when it comes to the championship. Hit or miss the mark.
I'm gonna say hit the mark.
Yeah.
You probably
They're
should
getting some
never.
confidence, man.
Yeah, and when the Kyle Busch that we all know wakes
Mm-hmm.
up,
Yep.
it we can say the same thing about Kevin Harvick back before the new car. When
Yes.
Kevin Harvick wakes up, everybody's screwed, and I think the same thing with this 8 group. I think they went through a little bit of growing pains after the first win, second win.
Mm-hmm.
Now now they're going to start hitting their stride, and if I'm everybody else, I'd be just a tad bit worried.
Yep. I'm with you 100%. I think that Bush is already shown to be one of the contenders for the championship. Um, I mean, we knew that coming into the season, right? No, anybody with half a brain was not going to pick against Kyle Busch. As rough a year as he had last year, he was still a contender. That guy, I don't care what he's in, he's always a contender. And now they just popped off their third win. This wasn't a, they got strong towards the end of the race, or they put it together the last 30-40 laps. This was they qualified good. They were up front all day long. They were just dominant. And that to me is scary, because Kyle Busch is still got it. I mean, I would consider him still in the prime of his career. Obviously, the crew chief, why can I not remember his name? Oh, what the hell is his crew chief's name, Keith?
Um,
Son of a, why can't I remember this?
Randall Burnett.
There we go, Burnett. He got another win with Busch. He had 3 last year with Reddick. He's already got 3 with Busch. They are in the championship, right? They're already in the playoffs. They have nothing else that they need to do, and now they can start doing just straight going for wins, taking chances, rolling the dice, being aggressive, because that's all they got. I mean, they have nothing else that they need to do in terms of points, or just get wins. And when you've got 3, you can be way more aggressive. And I think that's what we're going to see. And Kyle Busch there's very few people that I would take over Kyle Busch in a one race scenario. I mean, there really is. The guy can just flat drive. So yeah, I think this is a huge win for them, and I really think it's trouble for the rest of the field, because a confident Kyle Busch is a scary, scary thing.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Yeah,
So
there's no better way to put it, I
yeah,
suppose.
yeah. So it's gonna be fun, man. I'm definitely looking forward to it. So, all right, next. The shifting at Gateway was beyond ridiculous in the Cup race Sunday. Hit or miss the mark.
Well, I think we've both have had a very strong opinion, so
Yes.
I gotta say it definitely hits the mark.
Yes.
At a bigger track, when should you ever see anybody shifting to third, downshifting to third to make a corner? It just
Yes.
shouldn't happen. It shouldn't. To me, it makes the racing terrible, because I know I can send this off into 3, miss the corner, and just
Mm-hmm.
downshift twice and point the nose and take off.
Yeah. Yeah. The shifting was insane when we were riding in the end car. And obviously, and we say this all the time, the sim racing world is not the same as the real life world. But, when it comes to the NASCAR Cup cars, the iRacing sim is pretty good. I mean, they use NASCAR data. They work with the teams, improving that. And we were shifting, to 4th in the sim. So I mean, obviously we knew they were going to be shifting. When I was riding in car on Sunday and they were downshifting to 3rd, I was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. I was shocked that they were shifting that much. If you remember last year, that wasn't happening unless there was like a mistake, or maybe really late in the run. They were only shifting to 4th because, remember, you could rev the engine a whole lot more. So you could run a different gear, carry a whole lot more RPMs in 5th gear, which means you could run a shorter gear. You have more RPMs. You're only having to downshift to 4th. Now, with those things being capped the way that they are, they're having to downshift to 3rd gear. It was insane, man. I could not believe it. I was just like, God dang it, because I hate the shifting. I hate it. Shifting is for road courses. It should not be for speedways. Even a track as unique as Gateway, okay? You should not see that much shifting. It's insane, right? So, yeah, they've got to figure something out with that shifting, man. I don't know how you fix it. We've talked about it so much. I don't know how you fix it. I just know that it sucks. And to me, it's one of the things that's really killing these. And Gateway's obviously not a short track, but it races like a short track. You know what I mean? It's basically, it's like I've always called it, the mutated version of Darlington, right? It's this egg-shaped track. You have these two very distinct corners. It's not nearly as banked as Darlington, but you've got this one really tight corner, and then you've got this one wide sweeping corner, and then you've got these two super long straightaways. And it races like a short track, even though it's not a short track. And that much shifting, it just, I don't know, it kills it. Because like you said, it allows you to wipe away mistakes, and short track racing is taking advantage of people's mistakes and not making your own is a big part of it. So yeah, they've got to figure out something with the shifting, man, because it's just getting absurd. All right. Next up, I heard this in a clip from Denny Hamlin's podcast, and I thought it was a really good idea. So he says that NASCAR should run the new tire they have planned for New Hampshire at all of the short tracks moving forward. Hit or miss the mark?
If it's a better tire, for sure hit the mark. If it's a worse tire, I'd say it misses the mark. I've not heard the clip or seen it, but if it makes the racing better, definitely let's do it. But even then, it can't hurt it any more than what it's already hurt.
No, and
So
I probably should have said that, but I guess Christopher Bell was one of the guys who was testing it, and it's a little bit faster on the short run, and there's more fall off with it. So
then let's run it
yes,
tomorrow.
yeah,
Let's put it on
yeah,
tomorrow and let's run it.
yeah. When
I'm
you've
saying,
got these guys running these tires the way that they are, where they'll let I mean, how many people were just taking right side tires, right? Like,
in the last 20 years, go find a race where they were taking two tires and it actually worked 99% of the time.
exactly. People did right sides only, right? Before they did, but it was not nearly as successful as it is now. Right? If you took rights only, it was you were at a track like a Darlington or a Bristol or a Dover or something like that, somewhere that is abrasive on tires, and you had just got tires maybe 5-7 laps before, and now you're trying to just jump up and grab some track position. You're going to gamble, take right sides only, and hope that a caution comes back out in 20-25 laps, right? Or you're doing a sprint for the win. You weren't out there and like, hey man, these lefts have only got 40 laps on them. Let's just leave them and get right sides only. Because that's the type of stuff that we're seeing now. It's insane, right? If you look at like Kyle Larson, like he jumped up a lot of spots by taking right sides only, and he did not really start falling off till the last few laps of the race. So I'm with you. These things have got to have some more fall off to them. We've talked about that a lot as well. I am in agreement with Denny Hamlin when Denny Hamlin talks about the short track stuff, and he keeps saying it's not an aero issue. I agree, because these cars, even though the aerodynamics matter at short tracks, it's not that big of a deal. Aerodynamics are not coming into play, significantly at Martinsville. You know what I mean? Like, they're just not. To me, that's more of a mechanical issue, a tire issue. Get these tires to where they fall off. Okay? These are race car tires. They should fall off and fall off dramatically. And if you're out there downshifting into third gear and then punching the throttle and it's not spinning and wearing out your tires, right? To me, we've got an issue. So yeah, I agree, man. Put it on. Let's just see it at the rest of the tracks on the short track side. And yeah, let's get some tire fall off so we can see some races, some good racing. Now keep in mind, the Gateway race wasn't bad. Okay, let me make that clear. It wasn't bad. There were plenty of things that I liked about it. I thought it was pretty good racing. There was passing there. You saw side-by-side action. There were the same things that we've seen consistently at other places, right? Clean air, right? Obviously is huge. Track position is huge. Dirty air can really mess you up. The shifting was obviously insane, but it was still pretty good racing overall. I wasn't, it's not like I was like, God, this sucks and it was horrible. It's pretty good racing. I just think there's some room for improvement and it would make it that much better.
I completely agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Completely agree. 100%.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see if they do that, but knowing Goodyear, they probably won't. They're not ready to be aggressive yet, and so that's unfortunate. But that's gonna do it for hit or miss. We're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, we've got our dirt track recap, which is gonna be awesome because we got Indiana Midget Week in full swing. Plus, last night was night one of the late model dream. So stick around. All right, it is time for our dirt track recap. First up, Keith, did you happen to see night one of the late model dream, the Twin 25s?
I have not.
I haven't
completely
watched it
forgot that
either.
it was even
I
on.
haven't watched it either. Like I said, I've been eyes deep in dirt sim racing the last few days, and I missed it last night. And part of the reason was I've been watching Indiana Midget Week. So, but last night, in the Twin 25s, Ricky Thornton Jr. and Tim McCready both got the win at Eldora in night one of the Dream. I got to tell you, man, both Thornton Jr. and McCready have both been good this year, and it doesn't surprise me at all that they got the win. I was interested to see how these guys were going to be doing with this obviously huge race. They've had good starts to the season so far, and last night they both of them brought it home, getting the win.
Which shouldn't be a surprise to
No,
anybody
it shouldn't.
at all. I think them are probably your Tim McCready's my favorite to win the whole Dream, I think, and Ricky Thornton Jr. to a point. They're both really fast when they show up to these big tracks.
Mm-hmm. They are. They are. So, yeah, good start to the event for both of those guys. Now, we've also got Midget Week underway, and it's been a fun week of racing so far. Keith, have you caught any of these races?
I've watched every one other than last night.
So, night number one was at Tri-State. Race gets started. You got Grant and Tim's just throwing sliders back and forth for like the first 5 to 7 laps. It was a really interesting line at the beginning of the race where basically they were almost throwing sliders so much because that the slider line was really dominant there at the beginning of the race in 3 and 4. And then around lap, what was it, 9 or 10, Denny gets around Grant and he was gone. Denny just took off. 20, 22 laps in, you got Grant and Thomas Jr. battling, and then they bring out a caution, which was a tough break for those guys because they were battling for, I think it was 3rd position at the time. Restart comes out. You got Kofoid throwing bombs at Denny, and Denny fights him off, man, and pulls away, ends up getting the win at Tri-State. So nice win for him. Kofoid was right there, but Buddy just couldn't make it stick. Night number 2, Circle City. I gotta say, I really like Circle City, man. I like that track. That's I hadn't seen a whole lot there before this year, and I really like it. So it was some good racing. Start of the race, Miller got the lead. Kofoid and Tim's right behind him, and then all of a sudden, you've got this battle for 3rd place with Grant, Tim's, and CV battling for 3rd. There's been a ton of just 2 and 3 wide action so far in Midget Week, but that's midget racing. That's why I love it so much. The cars are smaller, and you see these battles where these guys are 2, 3, 4 wide on these tracks, which is just incredible. Now, as Grant, Timms, and CV are battling it out for 3rd, Miller flips the car, man, bikes it on the cushion and flips it as he was leading, which was obviously a tough break for him. That just sucks. So restart. Kofoid's leading. He's got Grant and CV behind him. CV makes pretty quick work of Grant. Grant Justin Grant kept getting tripped up on the cushion. The cushion was pretty gnarly at Circle City, man. Did you notice that, Keith? Those guys kept bouncing off that thing or jumping it. It was pretty nasty.
And in the first couple of races this season at Circle City, I think the cushion has always been that way.
Yes.
That place is elbows up, and as you're pointing out, the hornet's nest, I'm gonna call it, at Circle City in the midget race was just incredible to
Mm-hmm.
watch. They were 3 wide, sometimes 4 wide, throwing sliders, and it was impressive. And I was impressed in Miller. I think he's a rookie in the midget week this year,
Mm-hmm.
and man, he checked out. I
Yeah,
was
he
like,
did.
he's gonna win this race. And then, as we all know, you make a mistake on the cushion, then sometimes it's not survivable, and you're not gonna bring the car back.
Yep.
And it was very unfortunate to see.
Yep. It was. So yeah, it was a bummer, man, because you got a nice lead there. Obviously, you don't know what's going to happen, but he was looking good, and then yeah, he lost it there. Then 10 laps to go, Circle City, CV and Kofoid are throwing bombs at each other, and those two had really pulled away. And then you had this like 4 or 5 car battle for third place with McIntosh, Timms, Denny, Whiteman, and Grant. I mean, you could have thrown a blanket over them as they were battling for third place. And like 2, 3 laps to go, CV pulls off the track. He's in the lead and he just pulls off the track. Something wrong. And Kofoid had like a 3-second lead over the rest of the field, got the win. So tough break for Logan CV, man. That was a tough one because he looked like he was going to have that in the bag at Circle City. But he got the win, so congrats to him. Next one, Gas City. Another really good night of racing, man. Emerson Axum was strong in the beginning, jumped out to a quick lead over Denny. But then we had a 3-car battle for the lead once again. Axum, Denny, and CV all battling. Axum was on the bottom, and it was really funny because Denny and CV are doing they weren't throwing like bombs. They were doing like these little short sliders on each other because Axum was down on the bottom, like they couldn't get that run. And then CV finally drives around and gets the lead, and he pretty much was pulling away. You get to 5-6 laps to go. It's Kofoid and Axum battling for second place, and they're starting to reel in CV, and then a caution comes out, and CV's 2-second lead is gone. Restart. They've got 4 laps to go. Buddy bobbles it on the restart, which actually helped CV and Axum because that allowed them to kind of pull away. And Axum got around CV, and they're with 2 to go because CV jumped the cushion, and then coming to the white flag, CV drives around him on the top and ends up getting the win. Did you see that Gas City race?
I watched bits and pieces.
Yeah.
That was my last night at work, so I couldn't really sit down and watch it like
Yeah,
I wanted
it was
to.
good, man. It was a good
It was
race. I felt really bad there for a few moments for Logan Seavey because I thought he was going to let another win slip away when he jumped that cushion with 2 to go.
Yeah. And overall, like Gas City, just in general, whether it's a sprint car race, midget race, the place is awesome.
It
I
is.
think
It's a cool track, man.
that's one of the better tracks in Indiana that the circuits go to. And
Mhm.
even the weekend warrior stuff at Gas City is incredible to watch.
Yep.
Um, that place is just my favorite between there and Bloomington. Like
Yeah.
tonight, that yeah. If
Yep.
you've not watched Midget Week, tonight is the night to
Yes.
tune in and watch it.
Yep. Yeah, tonight's going to be fun, man. I'm looking forward to it. So, all right, so last night, night number 4, which is also Buddy Kofoid's last night of Midget Week. He's not running the whole Midget Week. So, Lincoln Park, Emerson Axum jumps out to an early lead once again, this time over Justin Grant and Wiedemann. Axum's been running up front. He hasn't got the win. He hasn't got a win yet, but he's been running up front pretty much the whole week. Now, at the beginning of the race at Lincoln Park, everybody is rolling bottom except for like Logan Seavey. Seavey was up on the cushion. Everybody else was on the bottom. And Seavey basically drove around those guys and got the lead. About 15, 16 laps to go, Axum gets back out in front, and then you've got basically Justin Grant and Buddy Kofoid charging towards the lead, right? Axum gets back out front, and here comes Grant and Kofoid charging. 10 to go. Buddy is on the cushion, and he is flying. He's flying on that cushion and gets the lead with 7 or 8 laps to go and just doesn't look back. Gets the win last night at Lincoln.
Shouldn't come to a
No,
surprise to
no, it
anybody.
doesn't. It's so, it's so funny because if you were to see Buddy Kofoid, right, and you were just to see him on the street in street clothes, you would not think he is like this crazy, insane race car driver, right? He looks like he should be teaching, a science class like that. He reminds me of my old science teacher for some reason. I don't know why, but he does. He's, you know what I mean? He's like this. I mean, I hate to say this, but because it's not a bad thing, but he's like this nerd assassin,
Yeah.
in a race car. You know what I mean? Like that's how he comes across.
He doesn't have that race car stature. Like that
No,
race car
he doesn't.
He's not built like a Thomas Meserol where you could look at him and be like,
that's a race car driver. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or you look at like a Justin Grant or a Brady Bacon. Yeah. Like you see those guys, you're like, oh, they're race car drivers. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't look like that. He looks like he should be carrying a briefcase walking to third period science. Like that's what he looks like to me. For whatever reason, I don't know why, but that's what he looks like. And he is, we call him, in jiu-jitsu, they call those guys nerd assassins. And that's what he is in a race car. He is a nerd assassin, dude. Like you get that dude behind the wheel and he is just on the freaking throttle. And it's insane to watch, man.
And it doesn't matter the type of car.
No, it doesn't. Wing car, midget, it does not matter. The dude can drive, man. Yeah. He's so good. So yeah, he put it on him last night at Lincoln Park, man. Capped off a good week for him. Like I said, he's not going to be running the rest of Midget week, which is a bummer for us as fans because he's phenomenal in those cars.
And I kind of want to spotlight my dude, Thomas Meserol. They've struggled.
They've had a rough week.
They've been running this new Engler Ford motor in their midget week, actually for the whole season. And they've there's been some gremlins with that motor. It's a newer engine for them. And they last night they went back to what they always ran, the TRD Toyota midget engine. And leave it in the car, Thomas.
It was a better night. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's back to Thomas Meserol. He's back to the T-Mez that we know. And that would be a guy that I'd watch out for tonight, tomorrow. And
I think he's going to have a strong finich to midget week.
I think he's going to have something to say now that they got their fresh bullet in the car.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. I watched a couple of his videos. In fact, when I did my review of the dirt midget on iRacing, because they update, like we talked about, they updated all the dirt stuff. I used a clip of T-Mez at, I can't remember where he was, Jefferson County or something like that, but I was using a clip of his in-car, comparing it to the sim. And it was funny because one of the tracks that he was at, I want to say it was earlier this season, he was running a 4 coilover car. He actually had coilovers on all 4 corners of the car.
That's typically T-Mez. That's typically their car.
Yeah. I was surprised by that because I've also seen him in the traditional where he's got the 2 coils up front and the bars in the back. So I'm like, I wonder if that's something that they do based on the track or because you don't see many coilovers on the rear of dirt midgets. It's mostly bars.
Very rare. Very, very, very.
So rare. That was interesting when I saw that. I was like, huh, that's different. But you know what? If there was someone that I would pick to go against the grain, it would be Meserol. So
100%.
Shocking, but then also not very surprising. So yeah,
no.
Hopefully he'll have a stronger finish to midget week. Cause yeah, the first part of it was rough, man. It's been rough for him. So
yeah, and typically if you get T-Mez backed into a corner, he's going to come out swinging. So with this new bullet, I wasn't surprised to see him finish 5th last night. Going forward, that'd be one of the guys, and I gotta shout out my dude Jacob Denny. Man, he's a sim racer too, and he races midgets in real life, and it carries over. You can't beat him on the sim, and he is so damn fast. And I got to give a shout out to him. He's leading the midget points, the national midget points, and I think he'll have something to say before this midget week's over.
Yeah, Denny's been fast this midget week as well, man. He's looked pretty good. So
National points leader. I'd
mm-hmm.
be another guy that I would put the spotlight on if
Yep.
you guys are just tuning in. And I think we all should submit a letter to the federal government that Indiana Midget Week needs to be a week-long holiday.
Yes. I'm
I'm
in
just going to
agreement.
throw that out
Yep.
there.
I'm with you. I'm in agreement.
Give
Yeah.
everybody a week off of work, paid vacation,
Yep.
and let's all
Let's
come
all
here
take the
in Indiana.
pilgrimage to Indiana so we can watch the racing. Yep, exactly. So, but that's going to do it for our dirt track recap. Now, wrapping up the show, we have a really interesting Ask 3 Wide question. And if you want to send us a question, you can email us at ask3wide@gmail.com. That's ask the number 3 wide@gmail.com. And this is from Todd. He said, Tommy Keith, love the pod. He said, I have an interesting question for you guys, and this came to me as I was watching the Dirt documentary on YouTube. So that documentary, Dirt, the last great American sport or whatever it's called. If you've been watching that, they just aired episode 4. So it's been on Flow Racing, and then they've also been showing it on YouTube.
And Fox Sports 1.
And Fox Sports 1. Yep. So, and it's awesome. It's phenomenal. And it's pretty much centered around Kyle Larson. So what they've done really so far is that it's pretty much centered around Kyle Larson. And then depending on where Larson's racing, they'll have another driver or two that they're kind of focusing on. So episode 1 and 2, where they're at the Chili Bowl, it was Larson and Justin Grant, right? There was a little bit of T-Mez in there. You had a couple other drivers kind of sprinkled in there, but mostly it was Larson and Justin Grant. They get to Eldora, and it's pretty much Larson and Tyler Courtney. Well, episode 3 and 4 was really cool for us Bryan Clauson fans because you got to see the backstory of Sunshine, Tyler Courtney, how he came up, right? Where he worked for Bryan Clauson. He got the nickname Sunshine from Bryan Clauson. And obviously we know what happened with Bryan Clauson. You know, me and Keith have talked about it. Keith, I think you had him as your greatest dirt driver of all time. And I've referred to him as the Bo Jackson of racing, right? Kind of the greatest what if in dirt racing, because, you know, he just, as good as the dude was, unfortunately, we can only speculate how good he could be. So Todd asked us, watching the documentary, it brought up an interesting question for me. And I wanted to ask you and Keith, if Bryan Clauson were here today, would he be better than Kyle Larson on the dirt? Thanks. Love the show. So Keith, I'll let you go first, because I know DC was your man. What do you think? If Clauson was still around, would he be better than Kyle Larson?
I'm going to say yes.
I think so too, yeah. Man. I do. I really do. And that it hurts me to say that because I'm such a Larson fan, but I do, man.
When we talk about Kyle Larson being this generational talent, you only see one of them sprinkled in very so often. It's very seldom a guy with a natural dirt ability comes along that can literally drive everything and anything dirt.
Mm-hmm.
Bryan was that guy before Kyle Larson was that guy. It's almost like Kyle picked up where Bryan left off as far as the dirt goes. Brought the excitement, brought the fans in. Because let's be honest, there's people that are IndyCar fans and they watch dirt racing because of Bryan Clauson.
Yes.
Because of the connection. Now, did Bryan have all the big opportunities that Kyle's got on the NASCAR side? No. but he had the opportunities. It just happened when Ganassi was bad before they
Yes.
were where they're. I've always said this, and I will continue to say, Kyle Larson made Chip Ganassi 10 times better than what Chip Ganassi was.
Yeah.
Uh, but to keep it on the dirt side, I think he definitely would have been. They were just getting their feet wet with the wing stuff. The dude was a killer in a midget in a non-wing sprint car, and I think that's where Bryan's got the leg up. Is it didn't matter how big of a hit he took or how big of a crash he was in. He never threw the non-wing car to the wayside. That was his bread and butter.
Yeah.
Between the midget and the non-wing car, anytime they showed up, you could damn near guarantee BC will be on the podium,
Yeah.
if not
He was
holding the
he was
trophy
good, man.
at the end of the night. And yeah, I gotta say he'd be better. I mean, he would be. I'm sure I'm gonna catch a bunch of flack for this, but I'm
Yeah.
gonna.
I think I agree, man. I think one thing that would, and obviously we would never know, but I think one thing, if we looked at their trajectories in terms of where they were going, I don't see Clausen, I know he had a couple of truck races, I think. Um, but I don't think Clausen would be a NASCAR guy. I think he just always struck me as a dirt guy. And I think that would be an edge that he would have over Larson, as Clausen he would be running dirt, you know, 4 days a week. And Larson, you look at the run Larson had in 2020 when he ran dirt full time, and it was incredible. It's one of the greatest dirt seasons of all time. When you look at the number of wins that he had, the podiums that he had in the number of races, it was insane. What did he win, like 40 races that year? I mean, it was something ridiculous, right? But Clausen, that guy on dirt, man, he was another level. He really was. I mean, there's a reason why he is, even to this day, years after he's been gone, why people still talk about him. And it's because he was that good. Like I said, to me, he's like Bo Jackson. He's the greatest what if in dirt racing, because we could only speculate at how good we think he would be. And I think one edge that he would have is he wouldn't be bouncing back and forth. He would be a consistent dirt driver, and he was so talented. Yeah, I it's something I would love to see. I would absolutely love to see Kyle Larson and Bryan Clauson going at it, in a midget. I would love to see that.
And I think the only thing that we can compare the Bryan Clauson going at it with Kyle Larson and a midget is Buddy Kofoid and Larson, or Buddy Kofoid and insert
Mhm.
another good midget
Yep.
racer. Um, so Bryan, he ran in the Xfinity Series in 2007, 2008 for Ganassi, and like I said,
Yeah.
Ganassi was not
Yeah, that's right.
good
He did run some
in that time
Xfinity
frame.
races too. Yeah.
Um, Now that being said, if he was a different era of Chip Ganassi, I'm going to insert Kyle Larson's first couple years.
Mhm.
Would they be similar? Maybe. Hard to tell. But
Yep.
I truly believe. Now, let's be honest. Every professional race car driver wants to go to NASCAR. Why? Because that's where the money's at.
Exactly.
That's where the big fame is. But when you're a dirt guy, it's completely different. You go back to where you're from.
Yep.
You go back to your stomping grounds, and Bryan made that his job. That was his job, winning dirt races, and he was really fucking good at it.
Yes, he was.
Um, I'm very, very fortunate to have known Bryan, his dad, and and I think it is awesome to see what Tyler Courtney has done for Clausen Marshall,
Yes.
what the Clausen family has done for Tyler Courtney. Um,
It's really cool.
to the listeners that are confused by what we're talking to, I highly recommend watching this dirt documentary. Watch it from episode 1. Binge watch the first 4 episodes,
Yeah.
because then you'll get a better feel for who and what Bryan Clauson was through Tyler Courtney. You could feel the emotion from Tyler Courtney just from watching it.
Yeah.
Um, Tyler was like me and Tommy. We started just walking around the pits, and
Mm-hmm.
and that's how Tyler got his start. And
Yep.
it's awesome. You don't see guys like that anymore. You don't see guys just show up to the shop and work on these cars and earn a ride the hard way. That
Yeah.
is the hard way. That's I think the only other person that's comparable is Chase Briscoe.
Yep.
Um, and and now you got these NASCAR guys coming out and saying money buys rides. That is
Yeah.
a true fucking fact, and it will always be a fact. Talent will never buy a ride, and that's what Tyler Courtney did. His talent bought that ride,
Yep.
and they're living on through Brian's legacy. And it almost makes you wonder if Brian was in that 7BC wing car, what would it be like?
Yeah.
Would he be as good? Would he be as fast? I'd almost guarantee he would, because Brian's the type of person of he puts all out effort into what he's doing. And in the couple of wing races that I watched, I think it was the Knoxville Nationals, he turned some heads.
Yeah. Yeah. The dude could drive, man. He could drive. So yeah, interesting question, Todd. Thank you for sending that in
That
because
was a good
yeah,
question.
yeah,
I think that
that's
was
a
a
good
better
one.
one.
Yeah. That was a good one, man. I like it. So yeah, thank you very much for that. And like I said, if you guys want to send in a question, ask us anything. It could be racing related. Hell, it could be, I don't know, life, whatever. We've had all kinds of questions. But if you want to send us one in, like I said, ask3wide@gmail.com. So that's gonna do it all for the pod this week. I gotta get going, man. I've already got body shops blowing up my phone. And it's only 8 a.m. But it's Friday. Cars have got to go out. So I got to get to the rest of the day. But thank you very much, as always, for joining us. Please download, share, subscribe, all that other good stuff. Leave us a rating and review if you like the show. That would be awesome. But yeah, enjoy the weekend of racing. Got Indiana Midget Week wrapping up, plus the late model dream. And we got the Cup cars at Sonoma. So a lot of good stuff happening this weekend. So my man, Keith, have a good weekend, buddy.
Will do. You do the same.
I will. And all of you out there, enjoy the weekend of racing, and we will see you next week. And until then, as always,